Good morning. It is Thursday morning. I did an early morning cow check, checked water tanks. The well is working, although it is tripping the pump control box, and that is getting replaced. So I wanted to go down early this morning, check, make sure everything was working. It is. Enjoyed the sunrise. Just needed to take a few minutes for myself and enjoy the morning, and it was really nice. I'm glad I did that. But now I am going to do a couple of things. I need to feed a bale to the horses and to the backgrounders. They are the steer calves that are not on grain yet. It is super dry. It's turned very, very dry on us. There is like no rain. Well, there is some rain in the forecast finally. The end of next week, there's some rain coming. We'll see if that actually like stays and we get anything. But it's super dry. They don't have enough feed in the pasture. Like there's some, but I've had a bale and a ring feeder that was actually left over from winter time, like the last bale that I put out, and then they started grazing grass and they've been picking at it, I've noticed. So need to put a new bale in the ring feeder, and I'm gonna go down to summer pasture and gather some bales so that we can get them moved home and into the hay yard, and then I can get cows moved down to the summer pasture and do like a big flip-flop of where everybody's at. It's almost time to pull Ferguson off of the heifers. Gonna put Michelle's cows in with LOL and Max, just kind of rearrange everybody. I'm actually probably gonna pull the steers from across the road and put them with the heifers just because they don't have any grass, and I'd prefer for them to graze. I obviously don't want to be feeding hay in August. Today is the 1st of August. We hopefully have some time until the snow flies, although I will say for the first time ever, I am kind of actually looking forward to winter. It's just been, as you guys know, it's just kind of been a summer for us here. So that is the plan for today. Just get bales gathered. I've got a couple fields that I don't really need to gather them because the fields aren't super rough, but this one field, the wheat field, is incredibly rough, and it would be very hard to have a truck and trailer down there and not strap the bales on the trailer. Like, it's just, we don't strap them because we're not going on any public roads or anything. I don't want to have strap bales, but that field is just so rough that I think we would lose bales off of it. So I'm going to get them gathered to kind of a couple different points so that we can get a truck and trailer, or just use the trailer hooked up to the tractor. Don't really know exactly what the plan is or when exactly it's going to happen, other than just here in the next few days, probably this weekend. So that's the plan. Get things gathered, get it moved back to the hay yard. Hay yield was extremely low, and I've talked about this, like I knew it was going to be low. I made the choice to still cut the fields. I had 2 fields that I did not cut. Gonna hopefully winter graze those. One of them is down in summer pasture and it's not like fenced off or anything, so they'll graze that once they get kicked down there. So I have one field that has no water in it, and I would maybe try and like to graze it before the snow flies, but I'd have to haul water into it. And so Jeff and I have kind of talked about the logistics of that and kind of what the plan is, and so I think I will maybe be hauling some water to kind of graze that before winter, kind of like late summer. It'd be a great place for the heifers and the steers. So we'll see. I've got some ideas and some different options kind of floating around in my brain of where I can stick everybody to kind of just have. I don't want to overgraze. You know, I don't want to put too much stress on the pastures just because of the drought that we are in. Just trying to do the best grass management that I can. Even with the rain in the forecast, like it's not enough that it's going to, like it's so rare here for us to get a second cutting that's like enough to actually make it worth getting the equipment out. So even with some rain, like the grass isn't going to grow, but obviously like it'd be great to settle the dust, and it would be great to kind of have the fire danger not be so severe for a couple of days. I'm driving by the hay yard, and the mule deer are in the hay yard, and there's a beautiful buck in the hay yard, but he just took off. I actually took a picture this morning on my way back. I'll stick that in so you guys can see that picture. But yeah, the deer have been hanging out in the hay yard, which is fine. They're not in my garden, so thank you, Beckart. Appreciate that. There they are. There's a couple of does there, and then I saw 3 fawns this morning, and I don't know where the fawns are at right now. Oh, guys, don't go across the highway. Don't do that. No, 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 no. All right, well, they made it all across the highway. I hate that. I hate when they cross the highway. Obviously, there's not a dang thing I can do about it, but I hate watching it. They made it. Let's grab a bale. All right, I've got a bale, and I am gonna head across the road. It is so dry and dusty out that even if I clean the windows, it would be just completely dusty within a matter of minutes as soon as I go down the dirt road. We've had a ton of wildfire smoke lately too, which is just no fun. We're gonna wait for a car. So not only have we been getting a ton of wildfire smoke, it's pretty clear today, which is kind of nice, but we have had several fires in the county over the last week or so too. It is hot, it's dry, it's windy. We occasionally get some like dry thunderstorms that come through and just start fires, unfortunately. I'm gonna open the gate. Now, it looks like there's a lot of grass over here, but it's kind of at the point where, like, it's not their preference to eat it anymore. And there's some crested, and there's a few other types of grass. And, you know, once it kind of cures and dries, like, they'll eat it, and they'll pick at it and stuff. But, like, with the backgrounders, you know, I want them gaining weight so that when they go into the feedlot, they're heavy. I want them, you know, 800-900 pounds when they go into the feedlot. And so I don't want them having to work so hard for feed. And so if they are choosing a bale of hay over grazing, that tells me that, you know, it's just kind of not their preference at this point anymore. And I'm not going to feed them a ton. And like I said, I'm going to move them off of this here soon into some places with some better grass still that hasn't been grazed so heavily. I did pull them off of this in the springtime and put them into a smaller pasture. So this did have a chance to grow, but it's like not great, and that's okay. This isn't a ton of acreage over here for the number of animals that I have over here, so like this isn't that unexpected that they are kind of not loving what's left out here in this pasture. So we'll just take care of it. I haven't fed them a ton of bales. I think they cleaned up like what I said was left over from springtime. I know Jeff has put 1 bale in the ring feeder, and this is the 2nd bale. And before this is gone, I will get them moved out of here. So I want them eating. I don't want them having to like work super hard for food. I don't want them feeling like they're hungry. Like I want to keep them full and gaining weight and stuff. And so in the long run, it's just better to feed 1 bale or 2 bales until I can get them moved out of here. And like it will cost me less money in the long run, because the heavier they are when they go into feedlot, obviously the higher their finish weight ends up, and that's how I make money around here. This ranch is by, you know, the direct to consumer aspect of the business. So I need fat, happy steers that are gaining weight. Can you move your head? I really don't want to dump this on your head. At some point I need to move this ring feeder. It's been here for quite a while. But today's not the day. Before winter I'll do that. I saw the rest of the steers this morning. I'm assuming they are all in the shed hiding from the sunshine. Since we're over here, I can show you the winter squash garden. This garden's 10,000 square feet. It is 100 by 100. It is all winter squash and some sunflowers just because I like them. It's doing really well. There's a few weeds. I can see a few, but I use landscape fabric. It helps tremendously cut down on the weed pressure, of course, and helps with water retention. That's all sunflowers. But this is all stuff that I will harvest in September, but it's doing really good. Looks how it's supposed to look. Fence is working. Jeff and I finished haying on Saturday. This field was the last one that we did. It's called the wheat field. It used to be a wheat field long time ago. Like I said earlier, it is incredibly rough. Like, it is like shake the fillings out of your teeth in some spots rough. And it's got some spots that aren't too bad. This part's not horrible, although it's still definitely one of the rougher fields like throughout the field. So that's why I'm gonna gather this and not just drag the truck and trailer or through the field with me. It'll be just a lot easier on the equipment, and there's just some spots that, like I said, you would lose bales off the trailer unless we took time to strap them. And so it's like 6 of one, half dozen of another. Like, which time consuming thing do you want to do? Do you want to gather bales or do you want to strap bales? I don't know. So I'm gonna gather these bales in this field, get this one there's 2 different spots I can kind of load out in, and so throw some at this one loadout spot, throw some at another loadout spot, so I'm not having to drive like all over the place, which would be great. But yeah, it's super rough. If you have seasickness, I don't know that you're gonna be able to watch this. There is a 2-track that drops down. Oh, and like my camera mount hates this field too because it's just like wobbly and bouncy. So I like adjust it and move it, and then it keeps tilting. So I'm sorry about that. When we were finishing on Saturday, the wind was fighting us. Like, Jeff was watching windrows just blow away. I was raking. It was really frustrating. It wasn't like horribly windy, but just the directionality of it, and like the dust devils this year. Everyone is talking about how windy it is this summer, and it's just probably not a good indication as to like how windy our winter is going to be. So that'll be fun. But obviously, like, we don't know yet what winter's going to be like. When does the Farmer's Almanac come out? I've been curious I need to look that up. I was wondering, what they're going to say for our winter. Hopefully it's going to say lots of snow. That would be awesome. We really do need the moisture, and it's probably not going to come this summer, so I guess we're going to have to get some moisture in the fall and the winter in order to, again, get us out of a drought. See, big bump there. So I'm just going to line these bales up, and then we can grab them with the trailer. And I'm just going to do a whole lot of back and forth for, I don't know, I've got a little bit of time before I have other stuff that I need to go back and do. It is Grace's birthday this week, and so I need to do some birthday shopping for her. Farm store's open. Need to pick a few things for farm store and get that all ready to go. when Jeff and I were finishing this field, he was in the baler, I was in the rake, and he caught up to me because I was having to roll multiple paths of the rake and multiple windrows together. Like you'd make one windrow and then you could only move over like half, like you had to catch it to like move it over because the hay was just so thin. And he caught up to me because the baler goes much faster than the rake, especially when you're only taking half paths. And so there was a point where I was like, you gotta stop, Jeff, because I can't see. Like I could not tell in some spots where it was very thin, like where I had raked and where I hadn't raked. And so he kind of always had to be about like a lap behind me. So he kind of had some downtime in the tractor. And he had spent some time raking, and then I came down and the tractors needed fueled. And so we ran back, both of us did. And like it worked out, and I'm glad we got it done. But it's frustrating, you know, I'm not gonna lie. Like I was gonna film it, and then the yield was just so crappy, and I was just having such a frustrating time raking that I just was like, I can't even pretend to like fake some positivity. I'm trying to hold the camera because it's more stable, and then, you know, run the loader and everything at the same time and steer. Saturday was frustrating. This isn't the worst field that we cut, but it just, you know, it's another year of crappy hay, and I'm glad I have hay. I'm glad I have leftover hay. You know, I've talked about that before. I think I have enough to get through the winter, and I need to do the math again. What I have the flexibility to do is decide how many cows I want to keep over winter. Cattle prices are high, calf prices are high, so that's in my advantage, even though, like, I don't want to sell cows. That's not what I want, but there's a few that probably just are at the end of their time on the ranch, and they are just probably not going to raise very productive and healthy calves, or we're going to, you know, some of them that maybe, I'm going to look at my calving history, and if they've lost calves before, or the older ones, not like the younger ones that are doing fine and stuff, but I'm just going to go through with a very fine-tooth comb and really who should be part of the herd moving forward, who raises heavy calves, who takes care of their calves, who doesn't need any help during birth, you know, that type of thing. And I'll preg check first, of course, and see who's pregnant and who's not. And then, you know, just going on the law of averages of like 10% are typically not pregnant, you know, that might be enough that I don't have to sell any additional cows beyond that. But there's a few out there that like body condition is just not maybe as good as I would like it to be. And so this is kind of the year to make some calls and move some cows off the ranch that just are going to be problematic in the future. My goal and my hope is that I don't have to buy any hay this year, but I would probably be willing to buy like one truckload of hay depending on what I could find for price and whatnot. I've seen some hay in the area that's not horribly expensive, which is nice. I need to switch hands. So I just will kind of see who ends up pregnant, see what my numbers end up as, and then make a decision if I want to buy a load of hay. Maybe buy something with a bit more alfalfa in it if I do have to purchase hay. Not guaranteeing that I'm going to buy a load of hay, but just depending, like I said, on numbers, you know, maybe buy something with a little bit more alfalfa in it to keep for feeding right before like calving time is always nice to have, but not essential. I would just feed more cake and make sure they have plenty of high protein mineral and stuff. So I've got some ideas on how we'll get through the winter. And it's just kind of a wait and see game. Got to see who ends up being pregnant and who's not pregnant, and then go from there. It'll be nice to get the hay home. It's kind of always it's obviously the last part of haying, and it's kind of, after a long haying season or a difficult haying season, which I wouldn't say this was like the worst, it did take us quite a while just because of all the other things that I always have going on the ranch, like RVs and stuff, and weather, like I've talked about, the wind. Like there were days that there was no rain in the forecast, but like we just couldn't put hay down, and if it was down, like you couldn't put it in a windrow. And so we had several days where Jeff and I would look at the forecast and go, we just like we can't do anything with it. So we just got stuck waiting, which is fine. Like weather is always a big part of haying, and it's just kind of better to be cautious than it is to try and push it and, you know, lose hay in the long run. So now it's just time to get everything home. It's the final last step to haying. It'll be really good to get everything in the hay yard and have this project done. Get the cows down here. Got to turn on the water. Got a stock tank at the fence line that feeds off of the same well I'm using already. So just need to hook up a float, and then I've got a windmill that I need to turn on before the cows come down here. See, that's one of those like super rough spots. And they're kind of hard to tell like where they're at, but all of a sudden you're just bouncing like crazy. When you're going around in the same circle all the time, you get really good at telling where the crappy spots are at, but when I'm just zigzagging across the field, it's like, oh crap, there's one of those spots. Oh, I should have gone from the other side probably. Let's see if I can grab this. Yep, got it. I don't love being, you know, going downhill with a bale on the spear. I'm just always afraid it's going to topple off. On the plus side of things, it's not going to take as long to move the hay home because, well, there's just not as many bales. So I'm trying to always think about the positive, even though the summer has been somewhat challenging. It kind of took me off guard how challenging the summer has been. Like, obviously I've been on the ranch for several years. I know haying season can be tough. I've helped with so many haying seasons that have just kind of been a struggle, and this year was definitely that. You know, Ethel in the middle of all of it, you know, it was tough. You know, she is like my spirit donkey, and that was really hard. And just, we didn't have any major mechanical breakdowns. Had to put a new tire on a tractor. You know, everything, actually all the equipment needs like a little bit of work. The rake needs a whole bunch of new tines. The mower needs a new belt. The baler needs a few things like tweaked on it. Like I've got a belt that's really stretched on the baler, and just a few like little things. We're gonna work on that stuff this fall, and so that springtime gets so crazy and so busy. Like I want to do all the hay equipment maintenance now and not wait till we pull the equipment out in the springtime. I just don't always have time in the spring to do that type of stuff. You know, there's other projects that could be being done. So as we slow down here, kind of as we get into the end of summer, this part just feels so rough again. You know, I want to get all the hay equipment taken care of, get the minor things fixed, put a bunch of new tines on that rake so it works better next year for us, and we're not like in a rush to like get in the fields. This bottom part of the field is another really rough spot. This whole kind of side that we're on over here is just, it's kind of the worst of it. We got a bale out here in the grass. It must have rolled when it got kicked out of the baler, so I'm gonna go grab it. But who knows what's in this grass? I mean, it's tall enough that I can't see the holes. So we're gonna go real slow. Appears to maybe be a part of like an old, there's either some cow trails here or maybe an old 2-track. You can kind of see. the trips back and forth are starting to take longer, which is good. We're making progress, right? There's the positive side of it. I can't wait till the kids can do this. I've been really trying to convince Mackenzie that she should learn how to drive the tractor, and she's not a fan of that idea yet. And I think Grace would be up for it, but she's like, I'm too short. I can't reach the pedals, which is probably true. And she's still very, I mean, she'll be 11 here soon, but she's just very petite. So I think she'd have a hard time with the seat and getting the pedals pushed in all the way, you know, the clutch and the brake and stuff. And so, yeah, I think I'm a few years away from the kids being able to do this, but that'll be great when they can do this. They are super helpful when we need to move like equipment or somebody needs a ride and stuff. Like, it's super easy to be like, hey, girls, can you run down to the gator, pick somebody up, that type of thing. So that is extremely helpful. They have also been doing chores for me at nighttime and helping a lot with that. And the other day, Grace wanted to do it by herself, and like the goats and the chickens and stuff. And they do a great job. Like, it's been really nice, and it's fun to see them kind of go do that. And like, they've always helped some, but it's nice that they're kind of old enough they can take some ownership of it, and you know, like Grace being like, I want to do it by myself instead of having help, and I'm glad to see that, and they really do seem to be enjoying it. Now when it's winter time and 20 below, I'm sure nobody's going to want to come and help me with the chores, but that's okay. I mean, I can't say I really blame them. I don't want to do the chores when it's 20 below, but obviously they have to be done. This is another part of the field that is just awful. I'm going to try and find the non-bumpy way out of this part of the field, but I don't know that exists. So we're just going to go real slow. I know it's real hard on camera to kind of tell like elevation and stuff, but this is kind of just like a rolling hill, and it is the roughest part of the field. And of course I've got like 3 bales right in the worst part of it, and it was just, I'd never done this field, and look how much I'm bouncing, and I'm going super slow. But I'd never done this field, or at least this part of this. I think I've never cut this field or raked this field. But thank goodness Jeff had already cut it, because there are some holes that like I would have lost the tractor in. There's one hole in particular that is very large, and thankfully I could see it because the hay had already been cut, and Jeff had cut this field and baled this field before, so he kind of knew where the real bad spots were at. But yeah, this is definitely one of the rougher fields. I'm just gonna keep doing this. It's kind of just the same thing, back and forth, move the bales, get them all stacked up. Gonna finish up this stack, kind of get the ones that are closer here, and then switch and go up there. There's another 2-track that we can load off of. So just kind of get this project done so it makes moving hay home easier, and then get the cows down to summer pasture. And that should be happening here in a few days. I'll probably make a video about that, although it'll probably be super unexciting because I'm just gonna open the gate and eventually they'll meander their way down. I might cake them down. So yeah, I can't believe it's August. I know it's really actually very much time to think about winter and like what needs to be done before it snows, because you know, I've seen blizzards happen Labor Day weekend. I did look at the 45-day forecast, which obviously like I don't really put like too much weight on the 45-day forecast because it can change a lot, but it looks okay. It looks like we might get a little bit of fall. Obviously that's only like mid-September. I have a fundraiser for Edible Prairie Project on September 21st, and that's kind of pushing it to have an outdoor fundraiser, but hopefully we have nice weather for that. And that's kind of the reason I've been checking that 45-day forecast, because I'm just kind of like, how are we going to do for that? This is our 3rd year of doing a fundraiser out at the Barlow Ranch for Edible Prairie Project, and we've had gorgeous weather both years, so I'm hoping that's going to continue. I'm sure we'll get a year where it's not going to happen, but we'll see. Hopefully we get a nice fall. We got really hot forecast for the next few days, and then maybe some rain, so that would be really nice to, if nothing else, just settle the dust and just give us a little bit of relief from the heat and stuff. So gardens are enjoying the heat, things are growing. That winter squash looks great. Everything else is kind of playing catch up from our really cool June. But yeah, we're in the dog days of summer, and time to get everything finished up and off the to-do list before we get snow. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I truly appreciate it. This isn't one of the most glamorous, exciting things, to do on the ranch and in haying season and stuff, but it has to be done. I can't leave these bales out here. The cows will eat them, and I need them home so I can feed them this winter. So it's just part of ranching, even though it's not super fun and exciting. Ranching's super tedious sometimes, and this is definitely one of those things that is on that tedious list. So again, thank you for being here. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.